All right, so joining us for the interview segment of this week's Utah Outcast, we have Scott Smith from the Recovering from Religion podcast. Welcome. Glad to have you aboard.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for having me.
It's wonderful. If you guys haven't checked out his podcast, go check it out. It's the Recovering from Religion podcast. How many episodes have you guys put out so far?
We have 12 and we're working on 13.
Ooh, and the latest one that they put out was about Scientology, and that's my pet project for like the longest time. When I was really close to coming out of being a Baptist kid. Well, I mean, this was when I was in the agnostic portion of it. You know, when you're a person of faith, you believe like you should have something that you should continue to believe in, even if it's not the thing that you were brought up with. So I tell people on the show all the time, I was looking into just about anything at the time, and Scientology happened to be one of the ones that I actually looked into pretty heavily. And thankfully, places like Xenu.net were a thing, and Operation Clambake was a thing. So I managed to dodge that bullet pretty handily, so that was really nice. But anyway, not enough about me. Scott, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you aboard.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so let's see. Recovering from Religion podcast, do you actually do you do anything with the nonprofit itself, or is it just the podcast that you do?
Yes, I'm a volunteer on the Hotline Project as a hotline agent, and I've been doing that since, September 2016. I'm sorry, 2015.
Yeah.
And I help take calls, and that, and along with being the co-host of the podcast, is my involvement with Recovering from Religion. I'm also a supervisor and mentor on the hotline as well.
That's a very awesome project that the RFR does, because I remember when they first announced it, I think it was at the American Atheist Convention that they announced it, or was it a little bit before that? I can't remember. In 2015, I think is when it was. But they were asking for all the volunteers and anybody that could, donate some time to operate a switchboard to actually help out with that project. And it's very worthwhile. If anybody's really looking into it, I suggest highly that if you feel like you could be a listening voice to somebody that might be having a crisis of faith, I suggest that you look into it pretty quickly, because it's pretty awesome.
Activism is really important right now. A lot of people are looking for a way to get involved. And I think that we're going to see a lot of people who are dealing with a lot more fear around leaving religion, especially with the powers that be making it like normal or something.
If we get rid of that Johnson Amendment, but it's going to be even harder for people to leave religion.
Yeah, it's going to make organizations like the Freedom from Religion and Recovering from Religion is even more important.
If you consider yourself one of the feelers, like if maybe this would be a really good use of your time. You don't have to save the world. Just saving one person is enough. Just helping one person is enough.
Yeah,
that's well put.
So Scott, give us a little bit of information about yourself. Who are you? Who is Scott Smith? If you have a quick rundown that you could do. I mean, besides being the podcast host and the volunteer for the RFR, but.
Well, I was born and raised in the center of the universe for culture and sophistication, Kentucky.
Ooh, I've got a friend that lives in Kentucky. I love that. Well, actually, I went to Fort Knox, so I don't love that place so much. But
yeah, well, they got an ark, so they got that going for them.
Have you been?
And they're really not that far behind in the times. Last month, they got gravity, so they're doing pretty good. But I was born and raised there, born Southern Baptist.
Yay!
And their belief says you can't get into heaven without a covered dish. So decades, I worked my way out of that. I got kicked out of Sunday school for asking too many questions.
Oh,
hey, Kyle!
Just like Kyle right here.
And I wasn't that annoying kid, and I certainly wasn't the genius kid, but I stumped my teachers almost every Sunday, and it was agreed I probably shouldn't go back to Sunday school. So that was my first doubt. After that, someone bet me $5 that the Bible said that a woman shouldn't teach a man anything. And I took the bet, lost it. And from there, I decided to read the Bible from cover to cover. My first wife was a Southern Baptist minister's daughter.
Uh-oh.
What the hell was I thinking, right?
I know, right?
That's all right.
Never the preacher's daughter.
Never. Wasn't good either. My first marriage was bad too. It's fine.
Well, they do call it the starter marriage, don't they?
Yeah. But that's the first time I got to see the inside of the church and realized it was just a business like any other business. And after that, it took decades for me to make the leap from being a Baptist to atheist. It took probably 3 decades, I guess. But I've been involved with recovering from religion for close to 2 years now. And it's pretty cool. And now we live in beautiful San Antonio, Texas, where it's 75 degrees and brown and gray.
And the grass is weird as shit in San Antonio. Sorry, that's the one thing I noticed when I took a visit out there, because we were visiting the base out there as well for the Air Force. I can't remember the name of it though. That's where my dad got inducted. But we were staying out there because my old man was working for the government at the time, and we were staying at their place, and it was just minutes away from SeaWorld. So
right.
Well, the funny thing about San Antonio, and I don't have to tell you about this, but it's a 30-minute drive to just about anywhere because the way the city is set up, it's like 2 big concentric circles. It's crazy. Nobody wants to hear about traffic though. So how are you enjoying it in southern Texas right now? Is the atmosphere there better than Kentucky, would you say?
Ooh, I wouldn't say better. It's different.
Oh, bless
Kentucky,
your heart.
Yeah. In Kentucky, it's more Southern Baptist. Here, it's definitely more Catholic.
Really? Oh, that's right. That makes sense. Yeah, that's right.
Both our next door neighbors are Catholic, so I'm a Catholic sandwich. And
you're the meat, though.
That's okay. A lot of Catholics
not the Eucharist.
Are real lazy about religion. Like a lot of them are super lazy. Like, Easter and Christmas.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so let's see.
Very Catholic.
Have you ever actually been to Utah before? Have you ever been to the fair state of Utah or traveled through? I would say
I did travel through, and I must say it's probably the most scenic state I've ever driven through. With all the rock formations, and you feel like you're on a roller coaster. See, I went through the southwest corner going into Nevada, Arizona.
Okay. Yep.
And I loved it.
Great drive.
Yeah,
but I've never spent any time there.
Yeah, in between the places that you were visiting, so that was southern Utah, so that would be like St. George and places like that near the border where you go into Arizona and Nevada and everything. But from about those towns to like you reach Provo, there's like a vast expanse of nothing.
Yeah. It's beautiful too, though.
It is gorgeous. I'll admit.
Yeah, it is. But you have to go a little bit east to get the really pretty stuff.
But okay? Do you remember in the Last Crusade where the train is going through and it's like a wide expanse and there's sagebrush everywhere? That's what it looks like if you get up a little bit before you hit Provo. Like
So if anybody enjoyed Westworld. If anybody enjoyed Westworld, it looks like Westworld.
Yeah, it does. It looks like
that's where they shot. They did a lot of filming. Yeah.
Let's see. You answered the atheist all your life or later in life question that I always ask people that are on the show. Are you a drinker? Do you imbibe?
From time to time.
Do you have a favorite booze or beer? Because that tells a lot about a person. We tend to find out.
Well, I've experienced the only good thing that came out of Kentucky is bourbon. And I do have a taste for bourbon. I like Maker's Mark considerably.
Mm-hmm. It's quite good.
Four Roses single barrel is really good. As far as beer, I like good Hefeweizen. I was stationed in Germany for 3 years, and I love wheat beer.
Ooh,
very
what
distinctive. I was in Schweinfurt.
Okay, we were in Bitburg a long, like Reagan was still president long ago.
Big town? That wasn't meant in a derogatory way. Like my literal question was that would be Pigtown, right? Like I'm sure that their history has something to do with pigs. Like
Yeah. When we were living in Germany at the time, there was a thing where Americans like to eat corn. They don't really eat corn in Germany because that's what they feed their cattle,
right,
and their pigs.
Yep. I was originally stationed in West Germany, and then the wall fell, and all of a sudden I was stationed in Germany. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we left prior to that going down. We were there when there was all the turmoil going on with the fire hoses being turned on people, and we were there when Reagan came for a visit. So that was kind of interesting. That was
the year I was born.
Shut
1989.
up. Damn it.
Oh, see, no, this was like 6 years prior to that, Felicia. I'm old as fuck. So anyway, let's see. Have you ever had very much experience with people of our local faith, the Mormons? I mean, I know they exist pretty much everywhere, but not in the per capita that we have out here in Utah. But I mean, yeah, I'm surely you've run into a few before.
Well, actually, I haven't. However, we do.
I got some I can send your way.
No, thank you. We do get a lot of calls on the hotline from Mormons, particularly in Utah.
Yeah.
And I tell you, every faith, of course, is different, especially when it comes to leaving that faith. And maybe Mormonism is almost the hardest faith to leave outside of Islam. And it can be rough. You almost have to move. If you decide to stay, then your life is just screwed up.
Yeah, because that is your entire social construct. That is pretty much your entire world is the church when you are a Mormon in Utah.
My boyfriend, he worked for a company. His boss wanted him to sit with the missionaries. He did. He went through all the lessons, got to the end, went, nope. So he got fired. Well, they made his job a living hell until he quit. But like the idea was to push him out.
Right.
Good old Utah, right to work state, and especially where we don't have religion as a protected class in this state. So there's a lot of people that have to stay in the closet living here because if you're out,
very jobs
you can get fired. So
right.
Luckily, as a government employee, me and Kyle as well, we don't have to worry about that as much. So that's kind of nice.
I work for a company that would be they would be ashamed if I mean, I put my atheist cred from volunteering for Atheists of Utah on my resume. So.
Looks, that's a lot of fucking work.
Yes.
So this is very much a podcast. You don't have to worry about this getting around to people of faith or anything, Scott. So because this is an atheist, I hate to use the term because it's not the way you're supposed to use it, but this is a safe space for atheists. There's people for them to tell their stories, to listen to people in the same kind of group, the same in group, tell their stories and everything. But the reason I leave it with that preface there, what is the most tooth grinding thing that people of faith can possibly do around you? It's kind of an esoteric question, but because there's a lot, I'm sure. But
when I'm debating someone and they say, "I'll pray for you," that kind of gets me. And I have to if it's a little old lady I'm having a conversation with, then I mention my wife's sick, and she says, "I'll pray for you." I don't mind that. That's kind of cool. But if I'm debating someone and they end with that, I always say, that's okay, but I'd rather for you to pray for the victims of child sexual abuse in the Catholic Church.
Boom.
That shuts them up.
Yeah. That works.
That's amazing. So let's see. The last one that we have for our usual lightning round that we ask everybody for questions about here is what is your we've heard that you said that there was a lot of people that call from the LDS faith that are having trouble getting out. But do you have an honest opinion about the LDS Church? You don't know a whole ton about them. I'm sure you know enough being an atheist and especially working for RFR that you know enough about them. But do you have an honest opinion about the church in proper, like the entire hierarchy? But
well, I think there's negative and positive to almost every belief. And there's definitely a positive to the Mormon belief. And that positive is underwear. Those underwear look like the most comfortable goddamn pair of underwear I've ever seen. And they're hard to find. You can find anything on Amazon but these underwear.
Here's the thing.
I finally found one website that has them, and they're kind of pricey. But I don't want to get them anyway because we're going to do an upcoming episode on Mormonism. And guess what I'm going to be wearing when I do that podcast.
See, and I did.
You couldn't pay me to wear them. You could not pay me. Well, you could pay me. You could pay me money, but
yeah. Although
like
the weird
every
part
day,
of
it get expensive.
Yeah, the weird part is they have, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have Masonic symbols embroidered on them.
They should still have like the clump of like stitching where like one's the square and other one's like an angle, and that it's weird as shit. That website wouldn't happen to be mormonssecret.com, would it be? Because I was wondering, because I listened to your guys' show just this afternoon about Scientology, and I was like, oh, they're looking for garments. I know places to look for these things. So
let's see. Yeah, Mormon Secret.
Yep, there you go.
There it is.
And so now it all of a sudden makes sense why I put that link into our show chat when we were talking earlier today, because they're like, why the fuck is X putting pictures of guys wearing garments into the...
I do not even question. I'm just like, all right, let's do this.
It's X is on a new kink for some reason. No,
For both the tops and bottoms, it's going to be about $65, I think.
that's probably about what you would normally pay.
Yeah.
Because
Really?
I can get sexy lingerie for that, like
but
European.
now I know some people that could possibly be on their way out that still have their login information for the LDS.com website, and you can order them from there. So I might have to see if we can find something to shake loose. Maybe we can get you a pair that's, because we had a friend buy a what the hell was it? It was a field kit for what the hell is a sacrament where it had little trays with the little cups. And we did shots off of those. So, I mean, they were teeny tiny, so it took quite a few, but still, it was kind of funny that somebody was using something that other people find so ceremoniously like sanctified that, here we are doing the devil's juice out of it. It's just, you guys are so evil.
That can't be very satisfying. Those cups are really tiny.
They were really
I
tiny.
remember when I first went to a Mormon church and they passed those. I was like, okay.
Little
tiny
tiny water cups.
I mean, like there's like a whole thing around ours. Like everyone has to get up and you have to go to the priest, and then he like sticks a really shitty cracker in your mouth that you can only wash down with the world's worst wine. And then like the Mormons would be like, Catholics promote alcoholism in church. I was like, oh, okay. It's the worst wine. If that's the only wine you ever taste in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background information for people that might not know.
Yeah.
They do water and Wonder Bread in most Mormon churches because they don't
Not
do
even
the
the
crackers.
good Wonder Bread.
No, it's
most
the
of
cheap.
the people who buy
the-
the really shitty, super poverty level.
It's the
knockoff
duck.
bread.
It's duck bread, is what it is, really.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
It's the kind where the loaf has it marked with a black marker on the top of it because they can't sell it to humans anymore. Because the church is already taking 10%. The other funny thing people might not know about going to Mormon communion or sacrament, as they call it. They have to bring the bread from home. The church does not provide it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
They can afford to build a goddamn mall.
Yeah,
But they can't buy bread.
A $2 billion mall in downtown Salt Lake, but no, we can't give crackers or bread to our people going to churches. You have to bring that from home.
Can't you just stay home and eat it there?
That's a great question.
Yeah, you probably could.
I can think of better ways of spending 3 hours on a Sunday.
Yeah, but then you can't get your cheap ass bread blessed by a 13-year-old.
That probably didn't wash his hands and tore it up with by hand and just it's gross.
Well, at least they're not masturbating because they hate their penises.
No, they hate them so much that
beat the shit out of it.
Well, Scott, it's about that time where we should probably be getting moving on. It's been a real wonder having you on the show. Where thankfully you had time on your wonderful Saturday night that you could join us to do this quick little interview. Do you got anything you want to plug before you take off?
Sure. If you want to volunteer for the Hotline Project, that's a great way to give back to the community. And it's also a great way to hear a lot of stories. And that's the secondary benefit. And it's really easy to volunteer. And once you get going, you don't leave your own home. It's all over the internet. All you need's like earbuds or headset. And it's the only thing I've been involved with where I haven't spent one dime on, not even gas money or anything. So that's pretty cool. And you can volunteer by going to recoveringfromreligion.org, click on the volunteer button. You go through 2 sessions of online training with a live trainer, and then you sign up for shifts. And all we ask once you're fully trained is you do 2 shifts per month. So that's 2 hours per month. I'm pretty sure everybody can spare 2 hours per month. And if you know someone that needs to call the hotline, the number is 1-844-I-DOUBT-IT. And the hotline is open 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central, 7 days a week. We have a chat line that's open on Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central. Be sure to check that out. We also have local support groups, and you can also donate, and you get to do all those things by going to recoveringfromreligion.org. And
Throwing money at a thing is never a bad idea. If you just cannot bring yourself to give your time, money is always great.
And
Yeah.
RFR
Seriously.
is one of the better ones in the atheist and secular community, I believe.
Mhm.
Because, like, if you're not going to give to your local
Really-
atheist
yeah,
group,
it's a
give it to
really
Recovering from
good
Religion.
organization.
yeah, we also have the Secular Therapy Project. It's really hard to
Love it.
find therapists that will only use evidence-based therapy. And I tell you,
Yeah.
it's really hard. And we've assembled 280 therapists that will do just that, only use evidence-based therapy. And over the last 3 years, we've helped 10,000 people find secular therapy. So that tells you how hard it is to find a therapist that won't tell you to pray or read the Bible. So if you're not religious and your therapist tells you to pray or read the Bible, you've wasted your time, money, and you're not getting the therapy you need. So this is a great way to find a therapist that's really going to help you.
Yep, one of the
Yeah,
many
we know
reasons I haven't
somebody-
gone to therapy.
We actually know somebody. I'm not going to say who on air because it's private, but we know somebody who found a therapist through the Secular Therapy Project, and they're having a great time. They said that they got a lot out of it.
That's awesome.
And it gave them a lot of it allayed a lot of their fears that they wasn't going to be religious because that's not what the patients need. And I once went to a religious therapist, and he made me feel worse.
Yeah.
And it made it was like he asked. I said I was an atheist. He's like, "Oh, then what do you believe in?" It's like, dude, I don't want to do this in therapy, man. I found a secular one, not through you guys. I got lucky. But having a
it is
secular
roulette.
therapist, having a secular therapist. I mean, it does you a lot of good, and everyone can benefit, even just from a few sessions. It's really great. You'll learn a lot about yourself, and it's good for you.
Right. And, a lot of these therapists will do remote therapy over Skype. So
That's
really,
wonderful.
there's no excuse not to get the therapy you need. And some people say, well, it costs too much. Well, what's it costing you by not getting the therapy? Maybe a whole lot more than dishing out some money.
Yeah.
I agree. Completely agree.
And if you're just maybe like there's nothing specific you can put your finger on, but you just feel like you're going through a rough time, you're not crazy. You're not broken. It's like yoga for your brain.
Yeah,
Right.
and don't like try putting it off by going and listening to your Silverstein records again. No, you need to actually see somebody for something like this.